This is Wisdom Anime Recap. This means war. Michiko and Hatchin met with an old fortune teller at a restaurant. She cast an eye upon Hatchin's face, branding it a visage of gloom. Yet Hatchin claimed to bear no such expression. Her features were a model of neutrality. The seer expounded on physiognomy, unearthing from its depths the possibility that Hatchin's resting bitch face could be an outward manifestation of some vague darkness dwelling within her. She offered to predict their futures, a safeguard against any impediments woven by Hatchin's darkness, of course, for a suitable price. With a nod that spoke assent, Michiko plunged headlong into the oracle's gambit. Thus unfolded the spectacle, as the aged soothsayer unleashed cries and contortions, a vacant glare fixed upon something above. Through her incantations, she glimpsed a figure in Michiko's future, a beacon of paternal devotion and the cornerstone of familial bliss. In Michiko's heart, the phantom of her long-lost Hiroshi took form upon this spectral shape. In contrast, the seer's words painted only adversity for Hatchin, major afflictions stemming from minor ones of her right foot. The oracle admonished her to forsake the pursuit of a figure up a slope, foretelling her demise should she choose to ignore her. At the ritual's end, she shrewdly peddled a magic stone and a vial of consecrated earth to Michiko as safeguards against the capricious currents of fate. With these trinkets in their possession, the two of them left. Michiko gifted Hatchin the stone, a gesture met with quiet reluctance, and as Hatchin attempted to walk away, her right foot met with a pile of dog poop, thereby fulfilling the old fortune teller's prediction in part. They made their way back home, but Michiko chose to go out once more. Hatchin stayed behind to clean her shoes. She suspended them on the windowsill to allow them to dry before taking to bed, eventually succumbing to sleep. Upon Michiko's return, she presented a commissioned portrait of Hiroshi and a new pair of shoes for Hatchin, yet Hatchin wouldn't accept her gift, as she knew Michiko had stolen them. The cloak of sleep enshrouded them both for the night, until Michiko's restless motions culminated with an inadvertent kick, rousing Hatchin from her dreams at dawn. Her shoes had been stolen from their place on the window as she slept. Hatchin went out barefoot to the store where Michiko had stolen the shoes in order to learn their cost, then to a nearby Chinese restaurant. She asked the proprietor for a job, powering through his initial denial with insistence. She would work for free the first 2 days and for half pay thereafter. Meanwhile, Michiko traversed the streets, soliciting strangers for information on Hiroshi and Hatchin's whereabouts based on the commissioned portrait and on one she drew herself. She was relieved to find Hatchin sleeping peacefully, but frustrated that she had worried her. Hatchin continued toiling at the Chinese restaurant, yet she found herself powerless against the onslaught of her boss's relentless belittlement. Her refuge became the mirror at home, a silent audience for the torrent of unspoken retorts she longed to hurl at her boss. She cut her hair too, a fresh start which would mark the beginning of her ability to perform to a degree that her boss would finally recognize. Michiko continued questioning passers-by about their recognition of the man in her drawing. Her persistence bore fruit when an old man recognized a semblance in her drawing and he gave her his address. Michiko mounted her motorbike and sped away. Meanwhile, Hatchin pursued a group of dine and dashers, among them the thief who had stolen her shoes in the night, all the way to an uphill road. A phantom voice echoing from the recesses of her mind, that of the old soothsayer, implored her not to ascend the slope. Yet, she ignored the old woman's counsel and ascended nonetheless. The boy's comrades materialized, among them one wielding a gun. The world ruptured into sound and fury as a gunshot shattered the air, bringing forth the memory of the latter half of the old soothsayer's prophecy of her inevitable demise. They pursued her to a dead end, where the youth brandishing a gun poised for a fatal shot. Hatchin felt the magic stone given to her by Michiko in her pocket, a talisman ordained to protect her from an unfavorable fate. She retrieved it and hurled it toward the boy's head. The stone served its purpose as Michiko hurtled forth on her motorbike, likely beckoned by destiny itself. Yet she still raced toward Hatchin when she signaled her to stop, only veering away at the last second. Michiko chastised her for obstructing her path until recognition dawned upon her after seeing Hatchin's haircut for the first time. The armed boy attempted to intimidate Michiko, spewing forth profane insults and waving his gun in the air until a resounding slap across his face severed his bravado. She compelled him to offer an apology. His comrades beat a hasty retreat, leaving him no choice but to submit. Hatchin's curiosity probed Michiko about her unexpected pink dress. She had readied herself to meet someone special. Their destination was Hiroshi's residence. Yet, upon arrival, a woman cradling an infant met them at the doorstep. Upon her summons, a fair-haired man emerged, but Michiko denied his being Hiroshi, her tone tinged with a strange defensiveness, prompting their abrupt departure. She lamented the fallacy of the seer's prophecy, yet Hatchin countered, acknowledging the accuracy of the foretelling of her own tale. Michiko drowned her sorrows in a dimly lit bar, where a dancer on stage named Pepe Lima wove tales with her body for tips. Blinded by intoxication, Michiko rose, commanding the music to cease and launching insults toward the dancer, who would later orchestrate her retribution. As the night whispered its farewells, Michiko stumbled her way towards the exit, only to run into Pepe, who tripped her over and stole her purse. Sunrise the next day brought Michiko to the Chinese restaurant where Hatchin worked. She probed Michiko's memory for any trace of the elusive Hiroshi, but Michiko's mind was veiled in amnesia. As she left the restaurant, she ran into the children who had stolen Hatchin's shoes, and they led her away at gunpoint. They drove her to a house where a sleazebag named Rico, the leader of this child gang, confronted her about the boy whom she had enacted violence upon when she'd forced him to apologize the day before. Michiko claimed her ignorance, so Rico trained the barrel of his gun on her, but she remained unshaken. Then, a woman, Pepe Lima of all people, tossed a TV through the pink veil that separated her bed from their interrogation and began blasting her music as a method of disruption. Michiko agreed to pay him off as an apology before departing. She stumbled upon Hatchin at the threshold and with a cutting tongue scolded her for wandering into the dangerous parts of town alone. The scene fractured when a pink car came close to running them over, halting to reveal Pepe in the passenger seat, who poked her head out the window to threaten Michiko's life before driving away. Pepe came back to the bar, where her gaze fell upon a little girl she referred to as Lulu, who sat upon the couch in her dressing room. She took her out to eat at the Chinese restaurant where Hatchin worked. Pepe inquired about Michiko's intentions with Hiroshi, her curiosity ignited by the portrait she had found in Michiko's purse. Hatchin shared with her that Hiroshi was her father, tipping Pepe off that Michiko was likely her mother. She claimed to know Hiroshi well and offered to tell her about him if she visited the bar the next day for her birthday. Hatchin's boss scolded her for wasting time chit-chatting with the customers until Pepe let him know she had no way of paying. The owner threatened to contact the authorities, so Pepe fled, telling Lulu to meet her back home, as she knew the cops wouldn't arrest a child. Hatchin relayed Pepe's revelations to Michiko at their apartment, words that echoed like ricochets in the confined space, triggering disbelief within Michiko. Hiroshi wouldn't surround himself with women like Pepe, she thought. On the day of the birthday, Pepe and Lulu loitered in the dressing room, discussing their plans for the future. When Rico joined them to wish Pepe a happy birthday, she took the opportunity to ask him to increase her pay. The audience was bigger for the night, she explained, meaning tips would be more plentiful, yet Rico still refused her, so she slapped him across the face. Unfortunately, his pimp hand was much stronger. Pepe sauntered onto the stage, casting her spell with a mesmerizing dance, while Michiko and Hatchin bided their time by the bar. At last, she made her way to them, aiming to confide in Michiko about Hiroshi. Yet Hatchin's abrupt interjection shattered the moment before their conversation could take root. She wrapped her fingers around a glass of orange juice, ensnared by the illusion of inebriation, a self-deception that chipped away at her inhibitions. Thus emboldened, she lashed out, criticizing Pepe's choice of occupation. Pepe explained that her purpose was not driven by greed, but rather a quest for freedom. She'd been born to a wealthy family, but her parents had met their demise early on, leaving her to care for Lulu single-handedly, who turned out to be her younger sister. She worked this job as a means of earning a better tomorrow. Hatchin fled, her eyes brimming with empathetic tears. Pepe unburdened her soul to Michiko, unveiling her plan to secure a fake ID in order to flee to Sao Paraiso. She proposed a wager to Michiko, a drinking contest. If Michiko could surpass her, Pepe would tell her all she knew about Hiroshi. Conversely, if the scales tipped in her favor, Michiko would simply pay her. In the end, Michiko emerged triumphant. However, the spoils were bittersweet, as when Pepe disclosed Hiroshi's recurring presence in the bar, Michiko stormed out, unbelieving they were thinking of the same Hiroshi. Michiko carried Hatchin to bed, only to find Lulu concealed beneath the frame. She ran off with Michiko's bag, spiriting it away to her sister. They planned to take Michiko and Hatchin's IDs in order to flee to Sao Paraiso, yet, upon prying open the bag, they found no such IDs. Pepe resolved to rob Rico for the money in the safe next to his bed, as she was the one who earned it for him and he refused to pay her. Dawn illuminated their path to his home, subduing him to ransack the safe. Rico's wrath materialized upon awakening as he dispatched his juvenile henchmen to chase down the two sisters. Unfortunately, Pepe had accidentally left behind a portrait of Lulu, which she had planned to use on the fake IDs, so Lulu volunteered to retrace their steps to retrieve it, only for the child gang to ensnare her before she could get close. An astonishing request fell from Pepe's lips, imploring Michiko for help. Her plea danced on the edge of desperation, underscored by threats of police intervention, a weapon wielded with knowledge of Michiko's recent prison escape. Yet Michiko remained unmoved. She claimed she could not afford to risk her life, as she needed to care for Hatchin. Pepe still chose to go it alone, so Michiko tossed her a wad of crumpled bills, a futile attempt to skirt the regret which welled up inside her for the ungiven aid. And when Pepe met the child gang to negotiate for Lulu, their response was swift and merciless. They shot her on sight.
You alive? Faut te go bang, tu